Free bird. Let's go, baby. We are still riding the high. I have not slept since yesterday. David Goss with you for First Touch 26 Daily, the #1 World Cup show, where we give you all the information you need about the games from the day before, the big storylines around the tournament, as well as the games to come up. And we've got a loaded one for you. It is me, of course, David, here in New York City live with Michele Giannone and Eric Krakauer, riding the high, the vibes from last night. What a day. What a day. Last night, I think I started with what a time to be alive. And
what a night.
I still feel the same way.
Amazing night. It was an amazing night. I was watching the game in the Lower East Side, and the Lower East Side is always popping when it's nice and warm, but there was something special in the air. So an incredible night for U.S. soccer in particular.
I think just for the global game.
For the global game.
Doing good.
Yes.
Getting Brazilian referees out of the World Cup for being terrible at their jobs and so much more. We've got a lot to talk about today. We'll talk USA Bosnia, of course. Wasn't maybe not the most dramatic game of the day. That was probably Belgium scoring 2 goals in 3 minutes after benching their 2 star players, one who is a national icon and one who is the face of the team right now, and then coming back and knocking off Senegal in extra time. So we will go back and talk through that. And of course, England coming from behind to get the victory. There have been 3 teams from CAF who have conceded in the 86th minute or later at this World Cup in the round of 32 to get themselves knocked out of the tournament. But we go again later today. So we'll have your preview for you. Spain goes up against Ralph Rangnick's Austria side at 3 p.m. Eastern time out in LA. And then it is the Toronto Derby, the Derby della Soul of Toronto. It is the Portuguese community of Toronto versus the Croatian community of Toronto at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, we will talk to Eric about what he expects to see from his team. And then we've closed out the night just as you wanted to. 11 p.m. Eastern time, get into bed and watch Switzerland play Algeria.
Of course.
That's not what you said a couple of minutes ago.
That's all we get from Michele on this one.
I want to be respectful.
Okay. So normally we start with our 3 big things. I think it would be quite clear what mine is. Do you guys have anything different that you want to start with?
I did, and now my mind is just blank. So why don't you go first?
I want to say the last 36 hours have been the best example why this is the best sport in the world. This is the best tournament in the world, and we're so lucky to be living once again through it here on American soil, on Mexican soil, on Canadian soil, or home. Since the night of the Mexico game through yesterday, the England game, Harry Kane showing why he's the best number 9, in my opinion, in the planet. His second goal, because of the magnitude, the moment, I think is the best goal of the tournament as of yet. Then we get that insanity of Belgium coming from behind against Senegal and advancing. And last night, the USMNT, waking up yesterday with the anxiety, with the excitement, with that hole in your stomach, waiting for that game, waiting for 8 p.m. And then obviously the game goes the way it goes with the last 30 minutes, playing with 10. The vibes are high, or the nerves are high. But then you woke up this morning with the best feeling in the world if you're a USMNT fan.
Or you didn't sleep at all.
Or you didn't sleep at all. If you slept 3 hours like myself, I'm still carrying the excitement from the Mexico game. And I cannot wait. I'm literally counting the seconds for Mexico-England at Azteca. So for me, the big thing is just the last 36 hours has been a reminder that we are lucky to do what we do for a living. And this has been the best World Cup of all time already.
I was actually going to say very much in line with that. I remember now how dramatic every game is.
Yeah.
You know, even the U.S. game with the red card situation, there's been drama. You know, I was flying back from Florida yesterday. I watched Belgium, Senegal on the flight, and I watched it in the taxi from JFK to Long Island City, which seemed to take an eternity.
Yep.
And I'm losing my mind both in the airplane and in the car after watching England at the airport, which was incredible as well. So I feel like when you think that a particular game is going to be anticlimactic because the previous one had so much excitement, no, you just get a double dose of excitement. It's been unbelievable, and I think I agree with you, although recency bias and all that this World Cup, in terms of what it has delivered on the field, best.
I think there's a lot of things we've learned about this World Cup. I think the gap between national teams maybe isn't as large as we expected. Some of the dominance isn't the same. I think there's a conversation we'll have as this tournament goes along deeper about the accruing of all talent at a couple clubs and a couple leagues, but how that actually hasn't affected national teams the same and maybe has adversely affected the national teams from those countries and spread talent around, which I think is a huge part of this World Cup. But one of the things we already knew, but just has been reinforced with the expansion of this World Cup, is when you put 22 players on a field and one team's going home if they lose, you're getting the drama.
Yeah.
You're getting the emotion at the highest level for this sport. And when you add in with this, that it's once every 4 years, and that legacies are built or lost in these tournaments, Son Heung-min's legacy will be different in South Korea than it ever would have been, because I will say he will never advance from a World Cup group and win a knockout game. Mm-hmm. At this age, it's just not going to happen for him. He's the greatest player in his country's history, but that's just a shift to that he can't overcome. There's nothing he can do over the next 4 years to change that, and that's what is at stake. And there was a moment yesterday in like the 81st, 82nd minute where Yuri Tillemans picks up a ball, he drives to his left foot, and he takes a shot that just goes wide, and he falls down doing it, and he's laying on the ground, and you just see the weight of the world on his shoulders of, it's all gone wrong. They're down 2-0 at that point. Belgium has this potential pathway. They had one of the easiest groups. They finally win it late on. They've not had to travel. They're base camped in Seattle. They've played in Vancouver, Seattle, and LA, and they're playing a knockout game in LA against a Senegal team that came from New Jersey after qualifying on the final day all the way to Seattle. Everything was in their favor. It's gone completely wrong. And there was this moment I just remember watching Yuri Tillemans. He lays on the ground for a second after that, like he just doesn't want to get up. And you're like, this is going to be one of the worst weeks or twos of his life. He's going to have to go and answer every question. And then he scores 4 minutes later, and then they score again, and then he takes the penalty, and everything shifted for him in 35 minutes. And that's what the stage that we are at. And that's why, as I'm getting questions all morning from friends of what does the U.S. have to do? How big is this? What does this mean? Jesse Marsh's speech about Canadian heroes. I think Javier Aguirre's reaction to what has occurred in Mexico and his willingness to just talk whiskey on the dais instead of actually talk about the game. That's the magnitude of what this all is. And I think as we've seen these knockouts go on, you realize what's at stake. And yet, we are starting to get into the space where it's like, two teams play. It's really competitive. And normally the bigger team goes through, right? England, they find a way. They get over the line. Belgium, I don't know if they're the bigger team, but they find a way. They get over the line. And I think as you look through it, unfortunately, there's been a lot of that. And we're going to have, I'd say, 2 more examples today of that matchup. I don't think Portugal, Croatia, you'd say that either way, although Portugal will be favorites in this one.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the point in tournaments where it goes beyond the collective now. Now is when the superstars grab the game by the scruff of the neck, and that's what we saw Harry Kane do with England. Although there were other good performers, I don't think the performance was as insipid as a lot of people made it out to be against a very good DR Congo. I knew when Portugal played DR Congo, and going into the tournament, that DR Congo were not a team to scoff at, that they were organized, they knew exactly what they were supposed to do once they were on the pitch, and we saw that against England. And I think it took a great collective effort from the English as well as the other teams that we've been seeing in the knockout stages already. But then there is a player that transcends everything. For Belgium, even though he's in the twilight of his career, I thought it was Lukaku. Yeah. Lukaku changes the dynamic of the game. Harry Kane changes the dynamic of the game. Even in that first goal, and I know we're going to go into depth about the game, the first goal, the header, it's just the willingness to take that extra step to beat Tuanzebe, the center back, into a position. It's the extra touch on the dribble to open up that window for a shot that most players who take it don't even hit the target because they slice through it. So these are the moments now where we're really going to see the team superstars show up.
I have a question for you guys, and you're talking about the team levels, the favorites. grabbing the game by the neck. And obviously now it's exacerbated on the matchups because of the expanded roster, right? So I'm going to make a comparison here to March Madness, right? So we have the Cinderella stories. And everybody's excited at the beginning. But do you want to see do you want to see an Appalachian state on the Final Four? Do you want to see Congo in a semifinal? Or do you want the Spain, the France, the Brazil, the Argentina? Do you want the Cinderella or do you want the big boys facing each other?
So I like underdogs, so I always want the Cinderella. The reality of the way you want a tournament to go from like a totally neutral point of view viewing experience is you want one. You want someone to root for, and it's hard to root for all the favorites when they're against each other. But then there is a sometimes drop of interest when it's the Cinderellas against each other at a deep point of the tournament. But the way this thing's lining up, we're going to get lucky to get one.
It's also I think there's a fine balance too, because you want the underdog, but you also want games to remain competitive. So
exactly.
The feeling is that if an underdog, a Cinderella story, gets to the latter stages of a tournament, they'll meet an opponent that they simply cannot beat. And you don't want that to happen. You don't want a lopsided result in the quarterfinals or in the semifinals. So understand the point that you're making. I think there's a delicate balance there. Unless you have a Cinderella that just happens to have enough weapons at its disposal to continue to cause upsets. But that's a rarity.
Because we've had examples, and we're going to talk about the Jersey Croatia 98, Morocco on 2022, that they got to semifinals and they had a chance to advance to a final.
And they played great soccer.
That they had a chance, right?
Because they were the right team playing. Croatia in 2018 as well. They're playing the right soccer in the right moment. That's what you're looking for. Now, sometimes if Paraguay somehow continues to move forward, it's incredible, but also it's less entertaining because it's the thing they do is the one thing they can do, and they're just going to keep trying to do it now. I would be genuinely shocked if they were able to get a win. Okay, we've got a huge day coming up. We were on the live show yesterday talking USMNT. If you haven't gone listen to it, you can. It's on our YouTube page, on the SoccerWise channel. It's also in the SoccerWise feed. We do a preview, which myself and Doyle, I believe, will record tomorrow for the Belgium game. So we do that. That's on the SoccerWise feed for every single USMNT game. Then we also do a live post-game show. So we'll be back live on Monday night, July 6th. Sometime around 10 p.m. Eastern time. Why? Because U.S. advanced to the next round. So we will be there for that one. Myself and Michele were on last night for a little over an hour chatting. So, Eric, get us started here. Reactions to the game, what you saw, what this sort of moment means.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It played out as we all anticipated. Bosnia sitting back, although they changed their defensive structure a little bit. I thought Matt Doyle was correct in how he predicted that structure.
He's not here. You don't have to say that.
I know, but with a fifth player coming in and turning that into a line of five at the back. Are you pointing to yourself because you said that as well?
I think so, but I can't remember anymore.
And then Bosnia relying on a deep block, looking at times to hit in transition, but also being very physical to try and knock the U.S. off of their game, because the U.S. men's national team was always going to come into this game with more talent, with a much more intricate and developed game plan, and they just needed things to go their way. What did surprise me, however, and I thought that this was the biggest Achilles heel for the Bosnians, is considering that they didn't have the players to play through the middle or play from the back, they tried to build up or build out far too often, and they got caught out time and time again. So it was interesting to see that when they could have hit Dzeko long, he's one of the best hold-up players in world football even at his age, but they never committed the numbers to be in and around him in order to win second balls. So they essentially played into U.S. hands, and then there was a lot of emergency defending. But I don't think I saw anything in this game that nobody expected. The other factor that plays into this match is Rafael Klaus, the referee. And we were messaging on our WhatsApp group, and I said something along the lines, if this guy's going to call a penalty, a machete will have to be involved, because he's a Libertadores referee. He referees the biggest Libertadores games, and we know how that tournament goes. We know the physicality of those games. So when I saw
Turns out he had a soft one in him.
He did have a soft one in him, and we'll talk about them. He becomes a protagonist, but I don't think he has as bad of a game as most American fans think he did, although he did let some things go. And then he has the major decision, which blemishes the match, could have cost the U.S. the win, and it is the wrong decision, in my opinion.
We talked about it last night. So for me, breathing a little bit, sitting a little bit, living with the red card call a little bit more. It is one of the worst red cards I have ever seen called, and it is even worse in the context of this World Cup. It's an embarrassment for him. I think the biggest issue is it's an embarrassment for the system. It is not the way that VAR is supposed to be used. It was not the way that it was stated how it should be used when it was brought in. It is not the way it is explained every single time someone from a refereeing association talks about how VAR is supposed to be used. It is supposed to bring the referee in for clear and obvious errors that the referee missed. This is a 50-50 call that the referee did not make. And then, as stated by Mark Clattenburg, and Klatz, I don't trust Klatz because of what he's been saying over the course of the tournament, so I'm anti-Klatz on this one, but now I'm bringing him in as a positive for me because he did the right thing. Convenient, as well as some other referees I've seen. You are not supposed to referee the game in still images. You are not supposed to referee the game in slow-mo replays because it takes context out of everything. The call is that Florian Balogun endangered a player on the field with his move. Every single time we step on a soccer field, you're in danger. Anytime I jump in the air.
Especially if I'm playing with you.
100%. Every time you jump in the air, you endanger someone around you. You endanger yourself. The way you could landing on someone. Neymar had his back broken in the 2014 World Cup on a 50-50 ball. No red card shown. He was endangered.
I would debate that 50-50 call because that was a knee to the lower back.
He was endangered. Any single time you go into a tackle, you endanger an opponent. This call was awful. It stands to be awful. Everyone's asking about appeals and reviews. It's highly unlikely. The only thing I have seen out there is the process of VAR could be potentially reviewed in that it's not that the call was wrong, it's that VAR was improperly used, and that is something that FIFA can go back and look. Let's be real. There's no chance in the world that anyone associated to FIFA can overturn this call for a host country at this World Cup. Yeah. It will look so bad for them, and so there's no chance it happens.
My point of disagreement with you, at the risk of getting a mug thrown at my head, is the following.
I'm stretching.
I can completely understand why Rafael Klaus is called to the monitor to review the play. Now, everything you said, I agree with you. There was intent doesn't really factor here.
No,
but
mainly because Florian Balogun doesn't know that there's another guy there because he gets running from behind.
But the reason I'm saying intent doesn't factor here is because it's very difficult for referees to determine what the intention of a player is. Although in this case, according to the spirit of the game, you take that into consideration. It is not a reckless challenge. It is not violent conduct. It is, like you said, one of those unfortunate situations with incidental contact. That said, because of how it looked, the fact that his cleats do rake the back of the center back's
they don't rake.
Number 4. Well, in my
they come up and they come down. Rake is I've come from behind and I've pulled my cleat down.
Just let me finish my point. And then he lands on his ankle. Look, he's already getting aggressive.
I haven't said anything.
He lands on his ankle. He lands on his ankle. I can understand why he's called to the monitor. But having said that, and this is where you get angry because you're like, if you're called to the monitor, it's clear and obvious and it's an automatic red card. The referee on the field is the one who makes the decision. Okay? So he can very easily look at the images and say, I can understand why you called me to the monitor, but for me, this does not clear the threshold of a red card. It is to the referee's discretion, the center referee, whether or not to show a red card. So I agree with everything that was done except with the final decision.
The way the system was stated, I sat in a room 3 blocks from here with Howard Webb when he rolled out VAR in the U.S. as the first place that was going to use it, was that the VAR was not going to officiate the game and re-officiate the game. It was for clear and obvious errors. And if you call a referee over to make a subjective call, it's not clear and obvious.
Yeah, but that's the nature of the game, Gus.
But then then the referee, and this is what we've been complaining about. The referee's call on the field has to be the call the referee believes in, and the referee's call on the field, if it's subjective, that's the call.
Yeah, but there's also a certain amount of distance. There's only so much you can see as the center ref, and that was an ugly incident. Unintentional, but an ugly incident. And at the end of the day, your clear and obvious is different from my clear and obvious. I think Michele should chime in here because it's almost as if he's not part of the show right now.
Michele,
I know you agree with me, so support me on this one.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
It's
and
a
I
cold
agree,
hand, Michele.
And I agree with you in some sense.
Gotta warm these out.
That, and I take it back to a week ago when I was having my rant with the referees should ref the game. VAR is a tool to help you. But at the end, like you're saying, Eric, I have no issue at all because it happens on other instances like PKs. The VAR suggests a ref, hey, I think you missed something here. Come check at the monitor, but you make the decision. The referee could have gone to the monitor last night and said, this is not what I saw on real time. I cannot make a judgment on a freeze frame. It's fine. No red card. He made the wrong decision. I have no issue with the VAR being called
the VAR did his job wrong. The VAR is
because let me tell you what I don't think.
You're not allowed to say this is a close call. You should take another look.
No, but it's breaking or potentially breaking a rule that is one of the most important rules of the game, that you're endangered and you're committing a harsh foul.
But he didn't commit a harsh foul.
No, but the endangering the opponent is
endangering the opponent.
Every referee that I've heard
he
speak about this
ankle.
has brought that up.
Someone just endangered you.
Has brought that
There was
up.
a plane flying over. It could fall out of the sky.
Dude,
I'm not protecting everyone.
Stepping on an ankle like that doesn't happen multiple times on a game. I understand your point. It's not a red card. It's not a red card. But I don't have an issue with VAR saying, hey, go check it out, but you make the decision.
So,
the ref made the wrong decision yesterday.
So just to state for one last time, the way the system is laid out, what we are talking about right now isn't supposed to happen. It is, I have a clear and obvious call that you've missed or nothing. Now, PKs, I can understand. They're a very specific moment, which is when a ball is in a box, someone has a chance to score. You don't get the ball in the box very often. So, like, anything that happens around a box could be changing the game in either direction.
So their subjectivity is okay?
No, it's not subjective.
Okay.
You score goals from inside the box. When the ball's in the box, something's happening. Someone going out into the channel in the 64th minute of a game, having a defender come through him from behind and therefore accidentally stepping on his foot, was not changing the game in either direction. So, like, there's no high-volume moment there. There's no high-intensity moment.
Moharemovic.
Yeah.
That's probably the most unpronounceable name there is. Can I return to a word that you said that I think is really
By
important?
the way, Edin Dzeko running through Tyler Adams off the ball.
That
felt
blindside.
endangering.
Yes.
What was the card on that?
It was.
No card?
No card.
I go back.
Okay. That should have been reviewed.
Okay,
so Tyler Adams was endangered.
Okay, so let me ask you a
Do you
question.
think it should be reviewed?
Do you think VAR should have gone to a referee and said, hey, go check this out?
No, I would have just said to the ref, that's a red
Why
card.
not?
You don't have to go watch it.
Oh, come on, man. Listen. Okay, let's.
You're not being consistent.
Exactly, he's not. But let's stray away from this for a second because you said the word context, and I think that's really important in this tournament because we saw an Australian player actually commit a foul. There was a very serious raking. I forget of whose leg it was in that game. Should have gotten a red. There's the Messi situation, which is also similar. Should have been a red. There is no coherence in the way these situations are being adjudicated in this World Cup, and I think that's the most problematic thing of all.
And then the last piece of this is the reason that there could be some sort of review on this is you're not supposed to referee the game off a still image.
Yes.
And I will start with all of this, which is I think VAR should exist. And one of the huge complaints when VAR came in was, well, human error. We want the emotion of it. We want the debate of it. And
we're still getting that.
Well, we're getting it because it's improperly used.
And now people can celebrate goals twice as well. Sure. So it's great.
And I'm fine with VAR. I am fine with it. The reality to me is if it is not so obvious that the referee, I basically believe the referee shouldn't even have to go to the monitor. That's the extent to which VAR needs. That should be the threshold that the VAR is brought into it. And that is how it's been explained to me over and over and over again. And therefore, in calls like this, the VAR should not get involved because there are 4 officials on the field. There are 4 officials refereeing the game. There are 4 officials who could have made that call, and they did not.
I want you to be honest for a second here.
Okay. I will be fully honest.
Checo against Adams, right? If VAR calls the ref, and the ref goes to a monitor, and he goes and takes a red card to Checo after reviewing the monitor, would you agree with that?
So I think
it's the same instance.
Yeah.
It's
So
the
here,
same instance.
my first reaction would be, if you think that's a red card as the referee, it's an embarrassment because he's standing 6 feet away from you when it happens. And again, you should, if you're going to referee a round of 32 World Cup game, you're one of 16 center referees at this level, you should be able to make that call. Second of all, I don't think it's probably a red card because there's not that much contact. Same as this. It doesn't really endanger anyone, but it wasn't a soccer play.
No.
And he laid someone out, and Tyler Adams ends up in
card. It's an orange card. It's one of those where, there's no intent to play the ball. There is clear intent to block the player and perhaps hurt him. I think it's a really dirty play, and it should have been spotted. Can I just move this conversation on to something that I really want to talk about insofar as this game is concerned? Malik Tillman. I tweeted this about a week ago.
Skeeted on Blue Skeeted.
Or Blue Skied or wherever.
Yeah, there we go. We're working on it.
Being able to recruit, I guess you can use that word, or to convince Malik Tillman to represent the United States of America is one of the biggest coups in recent U.S. men's national team soccer history. I really believe this. This guy is an elite player, but not just elite compared to other American players. He is an elite player in world football. I didn't know he could play this deep in midfield and play in that position so well. We were all second-guessing Pochettino's decision to not bring Tessman in, to not bring Morris in. And yet here is Tillman playing more or less alongside Tyler Adams, who is indispensable as well to this team, and playing with a fluidity, with a confidence that you don't often associate with American center mids. I think, given how well he's been playing, how well he's played in Europe over the last year or two, he could have been not a crucial member, but certainly an important player on the German national team. I really do. Somebody was laughing at me for making that statement yesterday. He is that good.
Yeah.
He is a difference maker. And if I were voting for this today, he makes my World Cup best 11.
Yeah. A couple points on that sense. And we were talking about this last night, the way that it feels, and you see it during the game. It feels like the USMNT is playing with a single pivot, which is Tyler.
They essentially are.
But that's how good Tillman has been, that he fills the space and you don't even notice. Yes. That's how good he's been.
Yeah.
And alongside with Weston, and I agree with Matt, he said this last night, Tyler Adams, number one, indispensable, right? But the best player on this team, the best soccer player on this team is Weston McKennie. And again and again and again. And by the way, there's a stat that he's been the only one that has started all the last 8 World Cup games, including Qatar. Yeah. The only one.
He also has, I think it's 13 line-breaking passes or however it's judged, which is the most in the tournament right now, and obviously the most for the U.S. I mean, a lot of what he's doing has been unprecedented.
He started all 4 games in Qatar. He has started all 4 games, the only one of this group. And talking about Tillman, Serginho Dest. The work that, and I know he gets all the heat, the work that Greg Berhalter did, recruiting and convincing dual nationals to play for this team was program changing for U.S. soccer. I remember I was there. There was a September window when Serginho Dest asked to not be called in because he was struggling with the decision of staying with the Netherlands. And Berhalter said, take all your time you need. Yeah. You don't need to be here. You know what we are. Come back when you're ready, if you're ready. He came back. Same thing with Tillman. Pochettino and his assistant went to him last year before Gold Cup and told him, hey, the big boys are not coming. You are going to be my guy for Gold Cup. And they convinced him to be that guy. And he's become that guy because Tillman before Gold Cup was very, very mediocre with the USMNT jersey. And part of the big takeaway last night, it's how much this group has grown on the mental side. It's been really great to see and amazing to see Tillman and the rest, right? But I'm just taking Tillman because you mentioned him, and he goes and he flies on the radar so much. And
Because he's a quiet character.
He's been brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. Even post game, asked him about the bloody sock. He got stepped on, the cleat change. He's just like, yeah, it hurts. Like, he doesn't really want to talk very much, which is fine. There are other characters on this team that want to. The big thing for me, and you mentioned Greg Berhalter and what the U.S. has done in terms of recruiting dual nationals, is you should never put these players under pressure. And you should never put promises out there to try and get them in the program. What you should do, and what Berhalter did, is build a culture, put it in front of people, and say, if you want to be a part of it, we want you to be a part of it. And that's what they've done with Florian Balogun, right? There's Weston McKennie joking going into Copa America on the documentary being like, took you out to dinner, man. You got to score goals at some point. But it's like, it wasn't the hard push. It was be around Weston and be around Tyler and be around Christian and be around these guys and decide if you want to or not. And Florian Balogun has said, I was around this group and I wanted to. Yunus Musa the same, right? Remember?
Yeah.
Came to Nations League, didn't play.
Yeah.
Then they played him in the friendly, so he wasn't cap tied. He got to be around the team. He decided that's what he wanted to do. And we live in a region where there is a country that does some things differently. Mexico cap ties guys at a young age when they think they have an opportunity to, so that they are stuck into the program, and then they don't call them up again for 10 years. But they make sure that they get them in the program. And the U.S. hasn't done that, and Canada hasn't done that. And I think you're reaping the benefits of that, which is there's not this negativity about you out there. And I think more players are going to want to come as the future goes along. Brian Gutierrez, to me, not good enough to be a U.S. player, and I don't think that's lost. Obed Vargas, that's a huge get for Mexico, but that is Obed Vargas'
and
dream.
that's gonna happen.
And you're always gonna lose players, and that's fine.
Of course.
But don't promise players a spot on a World Cup team
and then screw them.
like Julian Green, and then build your program around that. You should never do that.
You mentioned McKennie. I've said for the past few years that Weston McKennie is the most important player to this U.S. men's national team. Chris Richards recently has maybe superseded him, but given how well McKennie has played, to your point, I think that remains the same. I will say this about McKennie. Do you remember a couple of years ago, everybody was making fun of him about ranch dressing?
Yeah.
He was putting it on pasta and pizza and whatever.
Yeah, he got caught in the Juve documentary.
It's absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah.
However, recently, with the TSA warning about people, foreigners
it's
coming
become
in.
an international
Yeah,
movement.
the ranch dressing, putting ranch dressing in their carry-on instead of their checked-in luggage. I bet you Weston McKennie is looking at all those posts and going, I was ahead of the curve.
A quick reminder, if you're looking to play with the official FIFA World Cup match ball, head to soccer.com for the Trianda Pro. It's the same ball that Messi, Mbappe, and Erling Haaland are putting into the back of net all summer long. So go to soccer.com. You can get the kits that are behind me. You can go get scarves. You can get other shirts. You can get cleats as people start to learn how to play the game and get more invested. Flo Balogun won't put the ball in the back of the net against Belgium, and that's, I think, the real sad part about this story is the U.S. had the game. The U.S. ends up less than 50% possession because of the red card. All that's fine. It doesn't matter. They go and win. His suspension for the next game is the biggest piece of this whole thing, but we have plenty of days to talk about that, to preview that, to dig into it. We did it a bit last night, so if you want more talk about Pepe and how he fits in and all of that, you can go there and listen to that one. But it means the U.S. is moving on, and the U.S. is moving on to face Belgium. Because Belgium had one of the great comebacks in World Cup history. So that game will be on Monday. It will be at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Belgium scored with both of their shots on target in the second half of this game, with the 2 goals coming 159 seconds apart. They're the first side to win a World Cup match having trailed by 2+ goals since, does anyone know this? World Cup knockout game, 2+ goals down. I'll give you a clue.
Since they did it against Japan.
Perfect. Yep.
And that infamous corner kick that the Japanese took.
Feels like maybe if Japan wants to take a level up, they shouldn't make mistakes like that late in tournaments, but you never know. You never know. And Leandro Trossard has created more chances than any other player at the 2026 World Cup. Had the assist for Yuri Tillman's equalizer. This was a wild game. Senegal came out on the front foot and absolutely dominated the opening 65 minutes. Belgium wasn't in this game at all. Kevin De Bruyne and Jeremy Doku come off in the 56th. And Lukaku coming on helps, but it doesn't turn around immediately. And Belgium starts to get desperate. They start to push numbers, and eventually they're able to get that first goal and then the second goal, and that takes them into extra time where they're able to win the game. This is a Belgian team that has experience underwhelming and having pressure. Do you think they come out of this game with relief, or does the pressure just amp up because of how messy it was and all of now what's going to happen with De Bruyne and Doku and the questions?
Well, it depends how those players react, right?
Yeah.
I don't think De Bruyne and Doku are happy campers this morning, even though the team won and they're going to say all the right things. For them, talking about De Bruyne, their best player of all time, can you make that case? I don't know, maybe, probably.
No, he is.
At least in the modern
Kevin De
era.
Bruyne is the greatest
sure.
soccer player.
Eden Hazard
Belgium.
would be the only one to compete
And
with
there's
that.
not.
Because of longevity.
Yeah.
Jeremy Doku is their best player. Jeremy Doku, I think, will start on maybe 46 of the teams in the
100%.
World Cup.
Yeah.
I think he doesn't
France would be
start
the
just
only
in
one with
France
a
and
question.
maybe Spain or Spain on the other
they'd like
side.
the change of pace.
So for them, as individuals, it was an embarrassment that they were taken out so early. And it was an embarrassment that Belgium came back. A historic, underwhelming team in World Cups without them. Now, everything is going to depend, again, on how they can, as individuals, turn the page and become a better team to face a really good, almost at their same level, USMNT side.
I think this game comes down to two names. Edouard Mendy, the Senegalese goalkeeper, who's injured, and Rudy Garcia. If Edouard Mendy is on the field, Senegal win that game. Hands down, I think. And Belgium move on.
He comes off his line and controls the crosses better.
Yes, and he punches that ball away.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Huge mistake. Maybe even makes a play on the first Lukaku goal.
Yeah.
Attacks the ball a little bit earlier. But now I'm just splitting hairs and perhaps being a little unfair. As for Rudy Garcia, I think that Belgium move on in spite of him. I said about a week ago, we sat here, the three of us, and I said that I couldn't believe that Rudy Garcia was the man chosen by the Belgian Federation to take hold of this team. You already talked about his record with Roma against Lazio. He makes two big substitutions. Pulling off De Bruyne and Doku is not an easy thing to do. But the fact that he had to get to that position in the game tells me everything I need to know about his preparation for the match. The fact that they sat back and were afraid to play Senegal, that they allowed Senegal onto them. It actually reminded me a little bit of Portugal under Roberto Martinez. No initiative, no courage, no verticality. I also mentioned about a week ago that he wasn't playing Diego Moreira, who was one of the standouts in Liga. Exactly the kind of penetrating winger that they need if they don't have a Doku or to play alongside Doku. So it was sort of throwing everything at the wall at the end of that game and to see what would stick. And what stuck was a poor performance from Dia, the starting goalkeeper for Senegal, and an inspired Lukaku, who grabbed the game, as I said earlier in the broadcast, by the scruff of the neck.
Do you think the choice of leaving Lukaku on the bench to start was part of what you're saying or managing his fitness? Because he didn't play much this year.
I think that's managing his fitness. Okay. And also, it is clear that if you're leading the line with the Ketelare, there is a specific way that you want to cut through opponents, which is intricate football, connecting in front of the 18, triangulations, geometry, all that stuff. You bring in Lukaku, and yes, it's about his skill, it's about his veteran experience, but it's also about brute force. Holding up the ball, allowing players into the attack, playing it wide, and then just busting along to get into the box. And that's how the first goal is scored. And he's involved in the second one as well.
Yeah, Belgium's problem is they play too slow to do the first thing you said when De Ketelaere's on the field. They 100%. Play too slow, and then outside of Doku, no one is a 1v1 chance creator. And so if none of those things exist, then you need to be able to play into Lukaku's feet. So one, the entire game gets closer to goal. You play into Lukaku's feet on the top of the box, now Trossard's closer to goal. Anything he creates is a goal-scoring chance. Everything that Trossard did in the first 65 minutes of this game was in the middle third. And so there's no danger that comes from it. And then the second thing is there is no central point to the team. De Bruyne can't cover enough ground to go and connect the game anymore. And so you watch this Belgium team and you there's no one running the game. And then Lukaku comes in, and now there's a center point. This is how we play. This is who we play through. Yes. And while they didn't score against Iran, it was, in my mind, the best they played in the group stage. And to watch that, the one game Lukaku starts, and not say, in a knockout game, I need him, I think that's Rudy Garcia's mistake from the start. And if he does not start the next game, then I don't know. Rudy Garcia has already signed his resignation, and he's trying to
But
get
I think
out
it
of there.
comes back to the point that you made. Is this sort of making sure that he's fit to play at his best for about 30 minutes, 35 minutes? He hardly played this season.
No, 100%.
For Napoli.
But if you have to sub him on at halftime of games,
That shows that
means-
your plan hasn't worked.
Yeah.
100%. I
So
completely
at least
get that.
start with him, potentially take a lead, at least be alive at halftime,
Yeah.
and then you can manage the game from there instead of trying to chase from behind. I would be surprised if De Bruyne started the next game. I just find it really hard to believe that you come out of that
He's not going
game.
to drop him. He's the Cristiano Ronaldo.
He just
of
dropped
Belgium.
him. He dropped him in the game. That's dropping him.
I mean, but that's just a little bit different.
56th minute.
Another factor in this game, subs worked for Belgium. The substitutions did not work for Senegal. You talked about Jackson the other day and how he changes the dynamic of the attack. You like Ismail Assar up top, even though he's not a forward to stretch. They lost their
Dynamism?
dynamism. That's the word I was looking for. And also, why are you pulling Njai out as well?
Yeah.
I just didn't understand the substitution. So unfortunate for Senegal. They deserve to win, but they were also profligate. They missed a ton of opportunities.
I didn't know this. I just looked at it. They had 3.6 XG in this game. That is going to probably be one of the highest numbers against 11 players at the World Cup. Like what they did against Iraq with 10 men, maybe some other games have early red cards and that changed. That's going to be one of the highest numbers you see. And they only scored 2, which clearly wasn't enough. And we said it while we were sitting there watching the game. It's one of those games where the chance for the third was there. That's where they lost this game, was from the 65th to the 85th minute. They had breakouts. Mane had 2 big chances. The chance for the third was there, and they got a little cute in the final third where it was like, let's get Mane a goal. Let's move it around rather than let's put the final stake in this thing and let's move on. And there's a Nigerian commentator who I love. I watch everything he does. Adi Takes. He hates Ghana, so he has hilarious bits about that, which I really appreciate. He keeps calling the U.S. men's national team PSG, which I think is hilarious as well. He says that's how they play soccer right now.
Wow.
He said they came for the
That's
Club
high
World.
praise.
He came for the Club World Cup, and then they hid them here, and now they're playing for the U.S. men's national team. But he said coming into the day and out of, and I think this is right, the mentality for African teams of victim mentality and also underdog mentality.
Naiveness?
Well, his point was go out there, especially for Senegal, play like you deserve it and finish this. And Senegal finishes this game out sort of saying like, woe is us, rather than, okay, we've given up the 2 goals. Let's reset. They never touched the ball in extra time.
Yeah.
Like they were completely out of the game. And so rather than saying, all right, fine, that happened. We're the better team. Let's go and win this. It was like, can we hang in this? Can we get to penalties? And that his point was there's a mindset for a lot of African teams going into these big games in big tournaments saying already victim mentality of like something's going to screw us, as well as...
Well, something did screw them in the end.
Themselves.
The penalty.
Interesting.
So, you know, I just think, sorry to interrupt. I just think it's interesting that you mentioned that mentality, and yet it came to fruition.
But you slide in your own box going back against goal.
I don't think they have much to complain about, but it's one of those where I don't think it was that clear and obvious.
Ooh, now we're back in it.
And so I understand why the penalty was given. That's not what I'm saying. Now I'm talking about the spirit of the game.
Yeah.
It's in one of those situations where I feel, man,
Because
I don't
Tielemans
know.
isn't really going to get the ball anyway, and they're both going for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just don't call that.
But this is what we've said over and over again in this tournament. Don't defend in your mistakes like that on 40 yards. It's fine. It's a yellow card. You move on the game. But if you defend deep, which they did the entire extra time, now you're in a bad spot. This Belgian thing is going to be fascinating. They're going to spend 4 days now talking about De Bruyne's place in this team, talking about Doku's place in the team, talking about their legacy. I mean, I sent out a Blue Sky message as they came off for the hydration break in the second half. Trossard and Tielemans are fighting with each other.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
They're walking off and they're arguing with each other, and Rudy Garcia tries to jump in and break it up, and they basically ignore him. It felt like France 2010 of like getting on the bus, getting off the bus.
Historically, the relationship between Belgian players has been fractious.
Because
not to mention the whole Courtois, Kevin De Bruyne situation, which you should definitely look up.
If you don't know it, there's a lot of off-field drama between partners and spouses.
Yes.
Well, didn't Courtois also resign because of Martinez?
No, it wasn't Martinez. It was who's the guy that was in between Materazzo? Wasn't Materazzo? No, who was the coach in between?
There was a Belgian coach.
Oh, I can't think of his name, but it wasn't because of Martinez.
It was the guy before Rudy Garcia, right?
The guy before
But
Rudy Garcia.
one of the points with the Belgian national team has been...
It's always Rama.
You've got French speakers, you've got Flemish speakers. There's always been a bit of a gap culturally in the team. And one of the big parts of this golden generation was they kind of had knitted that together between Hazard and Kevin Morales back in the day and Lukaku. There was a real togetherness to the team that they said was unprecedented in Belgian history. And now they've got to find a way to like turn around. Like that's what's bizarre is this should be an adrenaline high of like, we came off this moment, we got here. But I think the reality will be they will look back and say, we have played 330 minutes of bad soccer at this World Cup, and we've played about 30 good minutes.
And now we're facing the best team at the World Cup.
I just think for them, they're still in the mentality of we're underwhelming. Like
Yes.
we are upsetting our fans, and I think that's really hard to deal with.
Domenico Tedesco, by the way.
Do you think the March game comes into play at all?
I find it really hard. I think
Psychologically,
yeah,
for them.
I think at least for the U.S., the conversation will be, it wasn't our group. We weren't trying to play the way we play. This isn't who we are. The only place it comes into mind for me is the subs who weren't trusted in the last game, who a lot of them played in that game, are going to, I think, have even less belief that we have a chance to get on the field. For the Belgians, I don't know if they even get there based off everything that's happened to them over the 4 days. It's going to be a big game. This is sort of the moment that everyone's waited for. You won a knockout game for the first time in 24 years, but it was a round of 32. Getting to a quarterfinal is the ultimate goal at this World Cup for the U.S., and now they are on the verge of doing so. And for Belgium, trying to rescue this World Cup to an extent. Let's finish off our review of what we saw with our final game. England against DR Congo. This one in Atlanta. We watched it, a large group of us here at the studio. And we knew obviously what was at stake, a chance to go to Mexico City and play at the Azteca against Mexico. DR Congo comes out. They take the 1-0 lead. Gorgeous goal on the far post. Really naive defending. And over, we've talked right back. It's the big position. But the point of this match before the Harry Kane stuff is Wisa's chance to close out the first half. It would have made it 2-0. They missed by an inch, and that felt like that was the opportunity to win the game.
Off the post. That was brutal.
So we knew that DR Congo, but what we saw on the group stage, they were going to come out fearless. And they did. We saw a team that against Colombia, against Portugal, they were not afraid to build up from the back, to play through lines. A confident team, right? It didn't help that England came out flat. And something similar to what you said with Belgium, and we go back to the Thomas Tuchel roster construction. There's first roster construction, and second, enough with the playing the winger on the right, Madueke over Saka. Come on, enough. Madueke on the right side.
I actually thought Madueke was good in this game. I thought Rashford
and Madueke were. I thought it was.
Yeah,
they were
I
terrible.
think Rashford should be a super sub.
There's no one that can take a 1v1 opposition on this team. The fullbacks were making the run.
Yeah,
the
Jed
fullbacks
Spence was the most dangerous player.
The worst player on the field.
Yeah,
and then he comes out. So the fullbacks are not connecting with the wingers. They're not creating spaces. They're not making the runs. They're making the overlapping runs. England was flat. Everything was cross. Nobody was taking anyone 1v1. And at the end, the superstar rescues everything. I don't think we can say enough things about Harry Kane. I think he's been, even in the present time, historically, but in the present time, still so underrated. Because there's a joke about Tottenham not ever winning titles, and then he goes to Bayern Munich, and then on the first year he doesn't win a title with Bayern Munich, and it's like this guy's cursed.
Yeah,
he's making a case right now of being the best English player of all time. We'll see how it finishes on this World Cup, but As a striker, I think he's overtaking not just in goals but in quality Lineker. I know that's big words, and I know that I'm not
I don't
English,
think that's.
But in England, they still regard that Lineker, that Bobby Charlton, that those people of the past of the top, right? Second goal is just
phenomenal.
Said it. Just between three guys. First of all, the flick from Gordon, that was fantastic. But the shot, he didn't have the right footing. That's 99.9% of players in the world, including Messi, Ronaldo, whoever you want to say, sky that thing over the crossbar.
Yeah. Or slice through it.
It was, as a finish, unbelievable. And that's what I'm saying. For me, it's the best goal of the tournament, given also the weight and what it meant at the moment. But going back to England, I think this team was flat, boring. They don't have the quality. And I defended Tuchel before the World Cup on his squad selection. It shouldn't be an all-star game. It should be a team that can play together. But we saw it on the group stage, the last two games, and we saw it yesterday. They don't have the quality to break down teams. And they don't have the players coming from the bench. It's Saka, but going back to Cole Palmer, going back to Phil Foden. And it's something similar to what you mentioned about Belgium. And it's I don't know. It just came out flat and
uninspiring.
Yeah.
And I agree with all that. I would say that they do have the talent though. Because when I look at England, I see a team that is going to be hard to beat. And then you have the difference maker. You got the X factor in Harry Kane. Mm-hmm. And very often, if you look at the history of the World Cup, those are the teams that end up winning the tournament. Teams that don't concede. It doesn't mean that they're super defensive, but that they have either the structure or the players to keep other teams out. And then those moments of inspiration that we saw, that goal. I was having this discussion with one of my very best friends who's a very good coach, Italian. And he said that he didn't like the defending on the Harry Kane second goal, that they didn't press enough. They were shuffling. They were trying. I agree to a certain extent. But that shot, you can take nothing away from that shot because he's running into an angle that is very difficult to hit. Because he doesn't hit it with his laces, he hits it with his instep. Because he manages to generate the amount of power that he does. I mean, I'm ordering from soccer.com some Skechers because of that. So I just wanted to sort of underscore the point that you're making about the shot. But I think ultimately...
Well, can I just add in real quick on the defending? Harry Kane's the most dangerous player on the field. You are not stepping in to win from him. I think as defenders, you would say, I made the window as small as possible.
Yes.
I'm not going to...
And I think they did that to some degree.
And I think they did. Yeah. The issue is Harry Kane is one of four guys in the tournament who is able to fit in that window.
I would say that sort of shot, there are less than four guys in this tournament who can take that shot. That's how exceptional I thought that shot was. And I'm glad I saw it this morning, that Thierry Henry, because I never watch the post shows and all that. The game ends, I go do something else. And I was glad that Thierry Henry was talking about that shot effusively and describing just how difficult it is. Because I think that is the role of somebody like Thierry Henry. When you are at a desk on TV and you're a player of his caliber, being able to translate the difficulty of what people are seeing to an audience is one of the most important things an analyst can do.
On the England side of things, I do think you look at this bench and you look at Kobe Mino, you look at Morgan Rogers, you look at talent in this team that could help. And that's where I understood Tuchel's roster. And I think Tuchel just hasn't played to its own strengths. Yep. And that's the frustrating part. It has very much fallen on, can we stay safe and Kane will save us? And it's just a passive way to go about trying to win a tournament and win games. It is going to work to an extent. Harry Kane's been to 3 semifinals.
Also, I just want to say a name, and then you can talk about him if you want. Declan Rice. Wow. Nothing to add?
In a good sense? Or?
In a good sense.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
he looks slightly dead right now.
Yeah, he might be
doing a lot of work.
He is a machine.
Yeah.
Even at the right back position. Well, and Owen Hargreaves even mentioned this. He's got to be careful. He's going to start at right back.
And that's where I think some of this stuff is overrated, where it's like, oh, Kane's the only world-class player. Declan Rice is a world-class player. Jude Bellingham is a world-class player. There is talent in this team. John Stones, when healthy, has shown that he is a world-class player.
And that's the point that I was making.
There's talent in this team, and I think there's other pieces that can go around it. I think Tuchel both hasn't used it correctly. I think he also hasn't unlocked it. I think they have gone into games scared and soft so that they don't lose. And can we just get enough? It's what Scaloni has built for Argentina, but they have a championship pedigree to do it because they won a Copa America, then they won a World Cup, then they won a Copa America. And Messi is a little bit of a different personality to do it around. But it's that, like, can we squeeze the game? Can we never beat ourselves and then assume there will be 1 or 2 moments of magic to get us over the top?
But that was the narrative with Tuchel for years.
Right.
And when he took this job and when he announced his roster, obviously there's a lot of talent on an England roster. But that's why his squad selection was so
contested.
Because even though you have a lot of talent on the bench, you on paper don't have that difference maker like a Cole Palmer, like a Phil Foden. And again, I defended Tuchel. And I picked before the tournament England to make it at least
put
to the
Tony
final.
on and start whipping. Like, you built your roster, use it. It doesn't feel like he's willing to use it.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's to this extent what we were expecting from Tuchel as a coach.
But you can't be too sad because you're getting the number one thing you wanted in life, which is England has to go to the Azteca and play Mexico.
That's going to be an incredible
in
game.
The round of 16.
Quick word on DR Congo. The performances from Bemba and Twanzebe at the center of the park. I thought Mutusami, who's a player that I've loved since his days at Nantes, or in like the 2017, 2018, just a wonderful player, confident. Who did you?
Ben Wisaka.
I
thought
Wan-Bissaka
was
outstanding. I know Sipanga got a lot of credit. I was a little annoyed at him in the second half. He was making some poor decisions when they had numbers going forward, and I thought they got their subs wrong. The one player who I thought really, unfortunately, was terrible off the bench was Meshak Elia, who started on the right and then went on the left, just couldn't get it done. Kayembe was good off the bench, but once they make the substitutions, they lost the fluidity, and it all went wrong.
We did him as one of our level up players for Football Manager, but Noah Siddique was unbelievable in this game. He picks up an early yellow card at a position where you're chasing, you're making tackles, and he was never in question. He's megging guys. He's opening up the play. He's always an option.
Always an option.
And that's what you want from a center mid, whether the game's on the right or the left. I'm your backup. I'm a player you can rotate through. And I thought he was really, really comfortable on the ball. And I've been joking. Sunderland's going to win the World Cup. But it's a Sunderland Crystal Palace World Cup. It is absolutely insane.
More Crystal Palace players than Real Madrid players.
Sunderland has 9 World Cup starters, and all 9 of them have played at the top level and have been the players to watch. Angulo,
well done, Lebris.
His goal for Ecuador. So, it's a Sunderland Crystal Palace World Cup. We've got some games to preview. Let's talk a little bit about
sorry. By the way, you guys saw that Sébastien Desabre, the coach, found out during the press conference after the game that his father had passed away.
Unbelievable.
I didn't,
So the press officer, when there were last question, he said, last question. Oh, we're done? Okay, we're done. And we also like to announce to the press that
but
his
was
father
he announcing to the press and it seemed like the coach didn't know?
No, I thought it was a question where the...
No. He closed. It was the press officer. He said, last question, we're good? Okay. Also, we were to inform that coach's dad has sadly passed away. And the coach didn't know. Supposedly.
At least that's what's being reported. But the look on his face.
That is absolutely wild.
I took it as, hey, don't share that.
Oh, okay.
That's how I took it. But the reports are saying that he didn't know.
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Anyway, sorry to knock you
out.
And
heart goes out to him and his family. Can I get us into our previews here?
Yes, you can, boss.
We got Spain versus Austria coming up today. The winner plays Portugal or Croatia on July 6th. In Dallas. Spain are unbeaten across their last 5 games against Austria in all competitions, but they have lost their only World Cup match against them in 1978. This is something we have talked about over and over again with Italy into Germany and now into Spain. Spain have been eliminated from each of the last 2 World Cup knockout stage games. They lost in the round of 16 to Russia in 2018 and Morocco in 2022, both of them on penalties. So this is the ball game for a team that won the Euros at the last tournament. Now they come into this game and the pressure is on them. They elevated as the group stage went along, although some injuries coming out of it, and Williams the big question. And I would assume we don't see him. He probably doesn't start. We probably don't see him for a couple games. Eric, what do you make of this matchup and Ralf Rangnick against Spain?
Well, I said this before. I'll say it again. Ralf Rangnick, as everybody knows, is the father of the Gegenpress. You haven't seen Austria press as much as I expected before the tournament. But he will have seen the way Uruguay approached Spain, and I think he will have taken notes and said to himself, we can't sit back. We need to really press the Spanish. Try to keep the ball away from Lamine Yamal. If he starts, he's not 100% fit. There's no doubt about it. I think he probably starts. You cannot afford to sit back against Spain if Lamine Yamal is on the field, because he's going to create imbalances. He's going to magnetize a couple of defenders, and that's going to open spaces for other players to capitalize on. Having said that, somebody would say to me, well, if you're pressing and you're going man-to-man, which is one of the ways in which you can gegenpress, there's a very good chance that Lamine Yamal is going to beat you on the dribble anyway. But I figure you'd rather lose on the front foot than just being passive and sitting back. I actually think that we're going to see a very good game here, and that there is a chance, and I predicted that Austria would beat Spain. Now, that's wishful thinking on my part, because I don't want Portugal to face Spain, but I really believe that given the styles of play and some of the issues that have afflicted Spain so far in this tournament, that Austria, if they play their best game, have an opportunity here to knock out the Spanish.
Nico Williams is going to be a huge loss for this team, because that was what it felt like at the Euros clicked, where Spain, these two eliminations at World Cups where everyone knows the game states and the frustration gets so high so quickly, and now all of a sudden they had Williams and Yamal who could win games other ways for them but still fit into the system. You lose Williams, a lot of the pressure goes to Yamal. It also helps Austria focus a little bit of, this is the pressure that we have to deal with on the left, and we can bring support over there, which feels like a really easy is not the right word, but a more sustainable way for Austria to come into this game.
Yeah, and I think Spain has an issue in the sense of, you mentioned Lamine Yamal not being fit, now Nico Williams being injured on the last game, but he hasn't started a game. Yep. I don't think Luis de la Fuente has found his ideal 11. Yeah. He has tried 3 different players on the left wing, actually playing Gavi as a left winger on the first game, which was a terrible choice. Playing Fabian Ruiz over Olmo in the first game, and then Baena, and then Olmo came in on the second game, and he showed why I think he's the best connector that Lamine Yamal has, because he's a true 10, and we saw a difference. Yeah, it was Saudi Arabia, but it was a big difference on the positive. But what I've noticed with this Spain is that, and maybe it means nothing, but every time they go and speak with the media, it's like contested. And it reminds me of like when Mexico's not doing well, it's just fighting every answer. Right. And Luis de la Fuente, it's on all the answers saying, why don't you trust this team? We are the European champions. Why are you doubting Lamine Yamal? Why are you doubting what we can do? And then Lamine Yamal, before the first game, calling out the press saying, why are you not like giving our props? We're the best team in the world. They asked about France on the last media availability, and they said, we are still the best. Why are you guys talking France over us? So it's like, why are you so upset with everything? Yeah. So what I want to see today is a statement game from Spain, from Luis de la Fuente, to make the right choices. That means playing Dani Olmo in the middle. Hopefully we can see more minutes, because it's been clear that Lamine Yamal is like building. Yep. Right? He didn't start the first game. Then he started the second game, and he came out at halftime. The game was 3-0 already, but he came out at halftime. Then on the last game of the group stage, I think he played like 57 minutes, 60 minutes. So hopefully we get more minutes about Lamine Yamal. But on a team that is not, I agree with you, that is going to press and then it's not going to sit back like Austria, I think you need a strong midfield. And I think having Dani Olmo as a 10, because you already have Rodri and Pedri that can do like the dirty work at midfield. And you have a great back line with Cubarsí and Laporte. I think I want to see. I haven't been impressed by Spain at all, except the first half against Saudi Arabia. But again, it's Saudi Arabia, we don't have a measurement. So I'm really excited to see, because before the tournament, we always said, okay, tier 1, it's France, Spain, Argentina, and then there's a huge gap and the rest. Right now, I don't even have Spain alongside Argentina, and not even talking about France. So I think Austria is going to be a good test.
So So here's my thing about Austria. Everything you guys have said is right of like, if they can press, if they can play together, if they can play against the ball and do it well, comfortably. I think one of the realities I've come to is I think it's too hard to institute this system at a high level in an international space. And while qualifying went well, I didn't think this team was overly impressive at Euros. I don't think they've reached, and I don't think they were overly impressive in the group stage. I don't think they've reached the point where they can suffocate teams the way Ralf Rangnick wants his teams, the way RB Leipzig has done at its highest levels around him. And because of that, I think Spain is too good for them to have an opportunity here. This to me,
that makes
behind Paraguay, this would be the most surprising upset. I mean, Cape Verde, but
the only thing is that this is a group that has been together for a very long time. And so I think Rangnick has had enough time to be able to instill his blueprint, but I agree with you. We simply haven't seen it so far in this tournament.
This game will kick off at 3 p.m. Eastern time at SoFi. So big one for these two teams. Austria, I think they've covered the most distance from a travel point of view. They started in San Francisco. They played in Kansas City. Now they're going back out to L.A. Meanwhile, Mexico's all cozy and comfortable in their own training facility in the Azteca. I saw England fans complain about that and then get reminded that in the 2020 Euros, they just played at Wembley over and over and over again. So welcome to the world, and this is how it is. Let's go to our second game of the day. Portugal against Croatia. We're going to talk about Portugal a bit. I've got MySoccer.com warm-up here. We've got a kit that barely fits Eric that he promised to wear if they won for tomorrow. But before we get there, I want to go into one of our favorite pieces we've been doing here with Soccer.com. Don't forget, you can go to Soccer.com to get some of these kits and the widest selection of World Cup products, free shipping on orders over $49. And Croatia are one of those teams where you want to go and you want to buy a kit. So Derek brings me up here for a moment. We're going to talk about some of the all-time greats. So this is Croatia's current jersey, which I think is in the conversation already. This is a country that's played as an international team since 1995. So they've got 31 years of history, and I've got about 5 kits to put up there. It helps when you start from the checkers. Like, that's your base that you're starting off of. So this is the current jersey, and I like the fact that it has sort of the line down the middle and a little bit of a gap. But now you guys are going to just start naming old dudes because we're going to get into the 1998. My favorite part of it.
Oh, look at that.
So
Davor Suker.
Let's start in
1998.
I didn't remember I didn't remember this one. I remember the blue one, which I'll show in about a second. This is a moving flag, though, coming from the right shoulder across the body. And it is, of course, the checkers of Croatia. And it is an unbelievable look. It's got a little bit of a collar. And for anyone who doesn't know, Croatia went from independence as a tiny country to a World Cup semifinal in about 5-year span. And it is one of the great turnaround stories in global soccer history. And then this is your boy.
That was only $82.
That's a different website. That's not soccer.com. We don't talk about that.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
But you can go get it. I mean, it's a throwback jersey. Yeah. And there's sizing. So you've got Davor Suker, who was he the Golden Boot winner in 98? Did he win the Golden Boot at the World Cup, or he's just one of the top goal scorers?
I think it was a tie, right, of several players.
Him and Lilian Thuram.
Well, in '94, it was a tie of lots of players, including Oleg Salenko, only player to score 5 goals in a World Cup game.
Russia,
but I don't know. I don't remember.
So Sukor in this jersey. So this is the blue version of it, and of course, this is a Croatian team. It's one of the smallest countries at the World Cup, and yet they've continued to put massive performances out there. I got to bring my guy Dada Priso in here. The ponytail, former Rangers player. This is that 06 look, which I think is really clean because the number's really small. So you get a lot of the checker. And I think for many people, this is sort of the iconic Luka Modric look.
Yeah,
this is 2018. They go to a World Cup final. It's a country of about 5 million people. And they have now been to multiple World Cup semifinals, which is just absurd to think about. And with the red and white checkers, that's one look, but then they have the deep blue they can bring in. And then when they go to this black kit.
Sorry, I see Olic's name. That's a player a lot of people forget.
Yeah.
You know, a speedster.
Built as a machine to play down on the wing. And Perisic still getting it done as well. So if you want to go and get the current Croatia jersey, I think it's in line with all of these. And you want to be able to say in a year or two, oh, yeah, no, don't worry. I've got 26 Croatia. Like, I've got that kit. So make sure to go to soccer.com and check that out, as well as everything else there. And a big shout to soccer.com for helping us put this show on and be around with you every single day for the World Cup.
You wanted to name dudes last night.
Yeah.
Give me some Croatian dudes.
When are we doing Portugal?
Name dudes.
Have we done Portugal?
We haven't done Portugal yet. We're waiting.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, we know they're going to keep winning, right? How nervous are you?
Right now, not nervous at all.
Okay.
Tomorrow I'll be sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, tomorrow the game will.
Later tonight I'll be sick. For some reason, I think the game is tomorrow.
Because of pressure, or because of the matchup, or because of Croatia?
I actually think this is a favorable matchup for Portugal.
Yeah.
They have a really good history against Croatia in tournaments. By the way, first game in 2016 in the knockout rounds when they won the Euro, Croatia. Ricardo Quaresma goal.
Is he going to play today?
I hope so. I wish he would play. But before the tournament, Roberto Martinez said he was a numerologist or whatever. He believed in numbers. And 1966 with Portugal getting third place, and then 2016, blah, 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 blah. And now you got 2026, and they're facing Croatia. So everybody's very excited about it.
I agree with you about the matchup because I think Croatia, they like to play in possession. And I think there will be space for Portugal to be on the ball. I think a lot of this game will be played in the midfield. And with Vitinha, and we'll see which Neves plays because there's a few of them and there's one who's better than the other.
Much better than the other.
But all these pieces, I do think that the game states here are fairly favorable for Portugal.
Yeah, and at the end, I think it goes by to what we're talking about with Portugal. Every game, it's the decision-making of Martinez, right? Mm-hmm. How do you want to play? Who's going to play, especially on the wings, no? Instead of overloading the midfield with players that are kind of similar, right? With the Neves, with Bernardo Silva, with Bruno, with Vitinha. You want the difference makers. And the different makers on this team on offense are on the wings. With Rafa Leao, with Conceição, with Joao Felix.
Neto.
The elephant in the room, it's obviously Cristiano. That's not going to change. He's not going to be benched. So it's how do you surround him, right?
Yeah.
How do you give him service? Because he's going to be in the box. He's not making the runs.
Yeah.
He's not stretching the field.
But to the convo you've had about Ronaldo, because you have to play a higher line because you have to be connected to him, Croatia doesn't really kill you over the top with speed.
They don't.
So again,
they're very similar, these two teams.
Right. Another way that the game states, I think, fit Portugal. And if you look 1 through 26, it's a deeper, stronger Portuguese side than Croatia, which should go in their favor, except you could say the same about Colombia and DR Congo in that.
Yeah. One of the points that's been made, not by me, but I think it's an interesting one, is that finishing second, despite the fact that you're going to face better teams, the matchups are more favorable for Portugal because they're European teams. Mm-hmm. And African teams and South American teams in this tournament have played with a lot more endeavor in some ways. They've played a more physical game, and they've tried to stretch the field a lot more. Now, Ghana doesn't fit into that.
Yeah.
And the reason I didn't want them to play Ghana is because Portugal have had a tremendous amount of difficulties cutting through a deep block, and there's no better architect of the deep block than Carlos Queiroz, who also happens to know this Portuguese national team very well. So I was afraid of that matchup. For Croatia, it comes down to what you said. Croatia wants to possess, just like Portugal. Both these teams will have a lot of stale possession in this match. I don't think that Croatia has very good wing play. I think they're trying to do the same thing as Portugal, which is shoehorning a lot of players who like to play in the center of the pitch onto the field. Petr Susic, who can play as a deep line midfielder or as a number 10 type, is being pushed to the wing in this system, kind of. You got Perisic coming, bombing through the left. You've got Stanisic, who has played well on the right side, but everything is going to be plugged up in the middle. The players who could be the difference makers for Croatia in this game are the two forwards, Ante Budimir and Petr Musa. Why? They're two box predators who are physical and very good in the air. And what I've seen from the Portuguese defensive line is that they are vulnerable to crosses. Not only are they vulnerable to transition just in general, but when the ball gets wide, if they have to deal with a strong presence, a strong aerial presence, they can really suffer. And that's the area that I'm worried about. Everything else, Portugal the favorites for me.
One of the really cool wrinkles in this game is that one of the largest Portuguese populations in North America is in the GTA area, Greater Toronto area. It's about 250,000 people, another 100,000 in Quebec, which is just a drive away. So there is a massive pride in the Portuguese community there, as well as support. But then on the flip side, the Croatian community is a little over 100,000 in the area. And if you go back, you can listen to our podcast on the First Touch feed about the history of soccer in Canada. And there was these local ethnic leagues that kept the game alive in ethnic teams. The 1976 NASL champion, so like Pele's league, was the Toronto Croatians. They literally just, their youth team and their local team became a pro team at the NASL level.
Didn't Eusebio play for them? I think Eusebio actually
He was in Toronto at one point. He also played in Boston for the team there. He played around the Northeast in NASL on 3 or 4 teams. So this is like outside of Italy. This is the biggest communities that have kept the lifeblood of the sport. And Steven Eustáquio is a huge example of the Portuguese community in the Toronto area and what he has now brought to the Canadian national team. So it's a really cool game to have. It's the final game in Toronto, which I think's been an incredible host for this. We saw the crowds for the Iraq-Senegal game. We've seen marches through the city to get to these games. I think it's one of the more fun stadiums because it's in the city. You can walk to it. It's on the water.
It's just an incredible city.
Yeah, it's in the park there. So I think that's all a really cool element in this game as well. And I think it's going to be one of the best atmospheres we see.
Really quick question, and going against the atmosphere and all that you have mentioned. Are you guys afraid that this could be a terribly boring game?
Yes.
In the sense of like
two teams knocking around,
stale possession. That's what happened in 2016 between these two teams.
Backwards, sideways, and then there's like a direct ball to Joao Felix and across to Cristiano and 1-0.
Oh, Cristiano is going to score. I like that.
and that's the way Portugal wins. But
yeah,
I think this could be a very, very, very boring.
I'm in total
agreement.
So make sure to tune in, and then you can come back here tomorrow.
And enjoy the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. And Eric will be on with us. The one thing, though, as I've said, we've learned is the drama is there in all these games. The final game of the night, then, will be Switzerland against Algeria. This one will be in Vancouver. The winner of this game will get to stay in Vancouver and face the winner of Colombia versus Ghana, who will be coming from Kansas City. So a huge advantage for these two teams. Of course, Algeria, they are base camped in Lawrence, Kansas, Rock Chalk, Algeria. And Switzerland are base camped in San Diego. They've now played, this will be their second straight game in Vancouver. If they were to win, they'd play 3 straight games in Vancouver. So they're really getting their Oyster card or whatever it is up there. They're getting their worth out of it. This is a big game for Algeria, who came out slow in the tournament. That lost to Argentina. Then sort of the awkward finish to the group stage against Austria, and that dramatic finish in which Mahrez scored in stoppage time and then they end up conceding, and that pushes them away from the matchup against Spain and into this game against Switzerland at 11 p.m. Eastern time out in Vancouver. And to talk about it, let's go into our level up of the day. If you've played Football Manager 26, you know there's nothing like watching a player level up and start to grow, and one especially that you knew before, and then you get to come on this show 7 years later and be like, oh, I called it. I watched that player. And I think Ibrahim Maza is going to be one of those players. He has stepped in for this Algerian team throughout this tournament. He has completed more dribbles than any other player in the group stage of the 2026 World Cup. His 6 against Austria in the last game were the most by any player, with a 100% success rate in the group stage tournament. And you can see there his Football Manager profile. The range of the potential fee he could cost goes to the talent and skill that he has. He is at his best in that number 10 position, but we've talked about over the course of this show over and over again, guys who are always options. He covers ground sideline to sideline. He's always a piece of the game for his team, and it's been really incredible to watch in that he has been the center of a group that has a lot of veterans. It feels like the guys like Mahrez and Ora, these talented, experienced players, have really turned to him and said, the keys are yours, and this team's going to go as far as you take us. And he feels ready to elevate in this one. Has started all 3 games, played the full 90-2, came out with about 9 minutes left against Argentina. Huge season with Leverkusen as well. Started 20 games, 3 goals, 4 assists, and I think one of those players that's going to continue to shine.
Yeah, he's been one of the I'm trying to look for the word, but he's been one of the players that I've really enjoyed watching, even when Algeria hasn't played well, which is most of the games, because he always tries to pull a rabbit out of the hat. Mm-hmm. And those are the players that I feel we don't see enough of in the modern game. He is fearless. You will try anything. And just I was looking at the position, the free role. He is very much one of those free players. He's positionless. Yes, he plays sort of in the number 10 role, but he can show up. He can pop up absolutely everywhere and create something. He's the offensive catalyst. Certainly one of the most entertaining players of the tournament so far for me, if I'm just looking at a player individually and what he's doing with the ball, not necessarily connecting play and all that other stuff.
It's going to be a big game for him because I believe Switzerland are going to come out and sort of sit a little bit in the middle. So make sure to go download Football Manager. You can download it on Steam or your favorite console, PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo Switch. 1 week left exactly with a 50% off deal. So if you're going to get it now. You can play as the World Cup, or you can go off and play as a different team. I tried to be a Portuguese second division team because I want to go live in the Portuguese second division and hang out and just eat bread and fresh sardines and all of that.
Chicken peri-peri?
Fine.
What?
I just like my fresh fish from living on the coast. I just want my fresh fish. Listen, I got to get those oils in me. I got to clean my system out a little bit. But make sure to go download the game. You're excited about this game to close out the night. A late
Your favorite
one
game. Your favorite game of the tournament,
Coast.
right on paper?
I was talking with Doyle yesterday, and me and him have kind of got stuck in this conversation we keep having over and over again. I have obviously said on this show many times, the Swiss are the least interesting national team to me in the world. I don't enjoy watching them play. I don't enjoy being around their fan base. I don't really care for them. Wow. Except for when Shaqiri's on the field against Serbia. Then all of a sudden everything is fireworks. That's no longer possible, and yet it feels like there is a new version of that, and it's anytime Johan Manzambi plays.
Yeah.
Our former level up player. He has to start in this game, and it feels like he's the one who drives the game for Switzerland.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was very harsh on Switzerland.
Yeah, I'm always harsh on Switzerland. Welcome to the Thunderdome.
Why do you like Shaqiri so much?
I said the only time this team's
he looks like a walking fridge.
Yeah, no, the only time this team's interesting is when he played with Edge, and he only played with Edge when they played Serbia pretty much. Otherwise, this team plays passive. They play in the middle third. They let other teams dictate the style of the game, and they hang around, and they're the 21st best team in the world, and they go to a round of 16, and then they lose.
So, like you said, Johan Manzambi has to play. He's the big difference maker on a team that has quality, especially in midfield with Xhaka, with Ruben Vargas and Bolo. I think it's a very good striker, but Manzambi has been one of the revelations of the tournament, and he needs to start. Now, the Switzerland team, it's a little bit difficult to analyze coming into this game because they played 3 rivals at group stage that necessarily don't want the ball and play better off the ball, like Canada, and Bosnia and Qatar. And Algeria played against Austria on the last game. And how do you analyze that game? Algeria had 75% of possession against Austria, the little Red Bulls from European that we already talked about. But again, given the stakes of that game, there was a how long was it the
it was
the
5.5 minutes
of and 110 passes or something for the third goal that their fans their fans were like, why are you scoring? So anyways, I do expect Switzerland to have the ball and try to dictate the game, and it's going to be interesting how Algeria confronts this game, because they are a team that also like to have the ball, but I do believe that the quality of Switzerland, if Manzambi plays, I think is superior. And I think Mbolo is going to be very difficult to manage on the Algerian backline.
There's an interesting subplot to this game, and that is that Petkovic was the head coach of the Swiss national team and actually responsible for really developing the program over the last few years. It's been a while since he hasn't been there, though. He is having the same issue with Algeria that I thought he had with Switzerland. If you look at the 11 for Algeria, they're all front-footed, possession-style players who like to attack. Even their back line. Issa Mundi is a ball-playing center back. They're essentially playing a left back as a center back. I can't think of his name right now. Plays for Borussia. Sorry?
8 Ryan, 8 Nori.
No, 8 Nori is a left back. But again...
as a center back, sorry.
Yeah, as a center back. The Borussia Mönchengladbach...
Ben Espini.
Benzibaini.
And Mandi.
All their players want the ball. All their players want to attack. But Petkovic is the kind of coach who likes to play a very conservative approach, and it just doesn't work. And I think that is why this team has struggled so much, because you have the identities of the players and you have the identity of the coach. And in this case, the coach wants his identity to win over the players. If he takes the handbrake off, which is a term that you used the other day, and allows these Algerian players to play the way that they can play, to combine in tight spaces, to stretch the field, I think Algeria wins this game. I don't think he's going to allow them to do that, and that's why I think Switzerland go through.
Algeria have made it out of the group stage twice in their World Cup history, 2014 and this time. Both times they had Bosnian coaches. So
they almost beat Germany in 2014.
Yeah. So maybe Petkovic, and maybe they're required to have a Bosnian coach no matter what. Bosnia's coach, he's got a great three-piece suit. Maybe
who was the coach at that time?
In 2014, now you're going to try and...
No, don't worry about it. I was just thinking, I just don't remember. Halihodzic? No.
Yeah, Halihodzic.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Vahid, baby.
And unlike Portugal, Croatia, this should be a fun game.
Okay. It's going to be an open one. It's going to be a fun one. Two of the best young players that we've highlighted in this tournament, in Maza and Manzambi, both of them playing in the Bundesliga, which has been arguably the best developmental league for the superstars of the world. Of course, a Jude Bellingham coming out of that league. You see Musiala and now Olise there as well. And so we're seeing the next two on the field. And we'll be back tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, to talk all about it. Eric will either be crying or he'll be playing the Portuguese version of Freebird and screaming about everything.
I'll be wearing a Portugal jersey regardless of what happens.
There we go. Eric's going to go work out for the next 24 hours, so he's ready to put it on tomorrow. Thank you to the two of you for being here. Big shout out to Michele for coming back with me about 2.5 hours after we finished off the other show. Thank you to Derek. Thank you as well to Ben, as always. Stephen Evan keeping it together for us on graphics. Katie, who has been crushing it behind the scenes. Todd, who has been in studio with us, which has been great. Theo as well. And a big shout out to all of you for listening. And we'll talk to you all again very, very soon.